Hey, loves, it's Dr. Simone Ellis with Beyond the Chair podcast, and I'm super excited to be here again. If you're noticing if my face is freshly tan, and it is because your girl just celebrated her 40th birthday, so I'm big on this celebratory time. And somebody who knew me yesteryear, when I mean like high school knew me, is none other than Dr. Brandy Palacios, who is my guest today. Dr. Brandy, or Brandy for short, what is good? I'm so happy to see you.
Hello, Simone. Welcome to the 40 Club. I got a little 2 years on you, but welcome to the 40 Club. It's an amazing time to be.
Girl, tell me about it because, like, I'm going to be honest, I was really nervous about turning 40, especially for women. Like, I don't know if that's the same thing guys go through, but I was like, oh my God, like, what is happening here? I'm seeing grays that I can't keep pulling out because I'm going to have patches in my head. So tell me, like, what has been 40 like for you before we even get into, like, all of the things we're going to talk about today?
So 40 for me was a time to just be free. I was already established in my career. I actually had not started a family at that time, but I knew who I was and I knew who I wanted to be for this next decade. So it was easy stepping into it because I had already prepared myself for the adventure that would be 40. Lo and behold, then we got a call and said, hey, you guys want a baby, and my motherhood journey began at 40. So
Wow.
I set myself up. I hope to be successful during this next decade. Just
You
knowing who
hope to be,
I am.
baby. When we get into your
I mean,
bio, you already have arrived, my love. You are already there. And I'm so proud of you guys. Like, this is someone that I knew in high school. And yes, she's a couple years older. So imagine she doesn't know these stories, but I remember seeing Brandy. She was on the dance team. We're from Kansas. It's a big deal for us to do those like extracurricular activities.
yes.
And I'm impressed with her and like aspiring and loving what she's doing. Her energy was always great, always excellent. And then I see this amazing woman that she's become. And I have to tell you, I admire you. So let me go ahead and tell people why I think you're so amazing. First of all, guys, today's topic is going to be about self-care for healthcare professionals. And of course, my girl is a doctor, so we want to talk about prevention and burnout and how it really impacts our industry. So, Brandy, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got there, because I'm a fan and I want my fan to
Okay.
be a fan of you.
Well, thank you so much for that warm introduction. So again, I'm from Wyandotte County, Kansas.
The dot.
Graduated, yes, graduated from Sumner Academy. I did my undergrad at the Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama, where I was a part of the Marching Crimson Piper band and dance team. So I took what I learned in high school, and brought it on to the field at Tuskegee for 4 years. And then I actually danced semi-professionally too, here at home and in
Get
Alabama.
out of here. I didn't know
Yeah. I was
that.
on Neil Smith had a arena football team called the Kansas City Brigade, and I was one of the kind of founding dance members on that team for several years. So
Yes. I
yeah, I
love
love
it.
that experience so much. We got to travel, meet all kinds of people. So that love for entertaining and just enjoying people. Kind of was honed in there. And then I went to graduate school. I graduated in the first Doctor of Physical Therapy class at University of St. Mary in Leavenworth, Kansas.
Come
And
on. Can we
I've
give
been
it can we give a shout out for the first? Because first is important. I'm celebrating you. You deserve your roses. That is amazing. Congratulations. I'm sorry.
thank
I had to
you.
interject. I just want to celebrate your win. So
No, and I say we were the guinea pigs. So, our program hadn't even been accredited yet at that time. And we were just like, okay, we're just going to keep going. We're almost finished. It's going to get accredited. And it did. And they set us all up for success. And that's where my one of my PT journeys started there at University of St. Mary. And I've been a practicing an assistant first, and then I was a doctor of physical therapy since 2009. And now I teach at Concord Career College. I teach physical therapy assistant student while still being a practicing clinician.
Wow, the woman of many hats. And then you mentioned earlier, which I would love to kind of take a little bit of time to dive
Oh, yeah.
to break apart. You said that they called you about a baby. I want to know that story. So I definitely noticed, I think, on social that you got married probably
maybe 10 years ago,
okay.
a little more than 10 years. But my husband and I are one in four couples who struggled with infertility. And that was not a journey I was prepared for growing up, especially being a Black woman. And, you know, you grow up, you think you get married and you have this family and it just comes like that. But sometimes it doesn't. And I personally, I wasn't prepared for that. And my family was not either, because we struggled to have some of those conversations, you know, when someone says, okay, you guys have been married for 3 years. How come you're not having a baby? Or I had a woman tell me, why don't you give that man a baby? And I was, you know, I smiled politely through it, as we do at times when we are uncomfortable, but it kind of broke me to the core. So we struggled with that for a while, and we still wanted to start a family. So we agreed to proceed with adoption. And a young lady that I dance with called me and said, Brandy, I know you're on this journey. I have a family member who, you know, is in trouble, and they have a baby, and this baby is yours. We hadn't even talked about anything, but she said, I'm gonna give you the case number's name, and this is your baby.
Wow.
And so me being Brandy, I said, well, what's the baby look like?
I need him to be cute though. Like
And she said, Brandy, it looks like you and Robert. And
wow.
that is our parish. And that was our journey to becoming a family. And so I'd say all that to say that's also part of the self-care as well, because even though we were going through that, we had to take care of each other as a couple, but then also step back and take care of each other as individuals in order to be prepared for the next journey that was ahead.
So, Brandy, this is such like I got chills when I'm hearing this conversation, because I don't know if you know my journey as well, but I also was married before and struggled with infertility as well. So I am also infertile, and it was a journey. And so I think what I'm going to do for this podcast, which I think will be fun, is to talk about that self-care and burnout and our journeys and our path, because of the fact that when that was going on between me and my ex-husband, unfortunately, also from the stats, 1 in 6 couples end up divorcing because of infertility. And you painted a really great picture. When you start off with thinking about like all the possibilities of what you should be doing and like how having a family should come very easily, very naturally, and it doesn't, you're not prepared for the conversations that come after it, right? You're just not. And also what was happening in my situation was, because I'm a healthcare professional and I'm seeing patients on a day-to-day basis, and it's expected for women to carry children, I was getting asked almost every single day, multiple times in the day, well, why don't you have kids? You're married. You guys have been married for a long time. Why don't you have kids? And you struggle with trying to find the words. Sometimes going to baby showers you're not equipped for.
Absolutely.
Your families have these expectations that my family was extremely supportive, but we had to guide them on conversations that we could have. And I'll say this, that self-care for me did not happen. And I believe that was probably some of the reasons why maybe I wasn't paying attention to signs that were going on in my body that I needed to listen to before my journey became what it was. Or I'm building a business, so who has time to go to the doctor? I'm the doctor. I'm the doctor of teeth. Like, I got to save people's mouths. I ain't got no time to be taking care of me. So
right.
Tell me a little bit about, as we kind of get into the subject matter about self-care, prevention, and burnout, walk me through, as a professional, as a Black woman, as an entrepreneur, as an educator, as a mom now, as a wife, your journey with that. And tell me, what do you think burnout is?
Okay. So for me, it definitely was a struggle because my sister at the time, she got pregnant just like that. She
Mm,
got pregnant just like that. And here I am. I was traveling 3 hours to go see my IVF doctor, and having these conversations not only with my husband about the financial aspect and the
yes.
emotional support, because he doesn't know. He doesn't know what I'm thinking or what I'm experiencing, because even me, I didn't know.
Right.
It was hard because we aren't brought up to have those open conversations. And I'm so proud of the young girls that are coming up behind us, because they are having these conversations. They're talking
Mm-hmm.
about freezing their eggs and
Right.
waiting till later. But unfortunately, we didn't have that opportunity. So we had to kind of journey, blindfolded.
Why do you think
Um,
that, and why do you think that that is? Like, why do you feel like, especially, we do not have those conversations?
I think we come from an age of that's just taboo. We don't talk about our lady parts, or we don't talk about menstruation or that time of the month. Even though that time of the month for some people it's painful, that time of the month never comes for some people. That time of the month does not look like the same journey for each person. And I don't think mothers have been taught that. And so
Hmm.
how do we, if I'm not taught that, how do I teach my young girl to come up confident in her womanhood if she doesn't even know the basics and I don't know the basics?
Yeah, I have
Um,
to agree with that. I think that, like, at this stage, so one of the things that I'm learning in my 40th year of life is, challenging what I call societal norms and challenging
right,
conversations and things that we have been presented in this pretty perfectly beautiful box that you're like, yeah, it doesn't really look like that, right? And
right.
I was fortunate enough during my journey that God is crazy how he works. I have to give him, like, kudos for how he drops people in your life. Literally, one of my really good friends, before I started trying to have children, was going through the IVF journey.
Mhm.
And I remember being like, oh my God, that is like a lot. Like, I couldn't imagine doing all of that. That's just wild, crazy. Like, and she's talking to me and she's being vulnerable. She's having those honest conversations. Who knew that would be my journey 6 months later? Like, I would have never thought that. And I agree with you. I think that we're not having enough conversations. Shoot, who was even talking about self care, right? Like,
They
who,
weren't.
we weren't, right? So,
No.
how did you decide to become, how did you as a professional start to really, like, start to understand, like, okay, am I taking care of myself? Because I'm imagining you're going through this experience while you're either in school or now you're working and you're having to,
Working.
yeah, talk to me
And
about
I
that.
was working, I was newly married. So people are just expecting you to just pop out children, even though I may not be financially ready. I may not be physically ready. It's just expected. Um, and I went to a physician here. She was a Black physician. Her name is Dr. Phaedra. And she said, Brandy, this journey is going to look different for everyone. Whether you become a mom through IVF, whether you become a mom through adoption, whether you are Auntie Brandy mom, that will be your journey and you will be able to do that. So for me to have someone who looked like me and tell me that and allow me to, she came in, she let me cry. We were in there for probably
Mm,
30 minutes and she just said, just let it out and we will proceed. And for someone to allow me to be vulnerable and allow me to know that I'm not crazy about the feelings that I'm having helped me to free myself.
yeah.
And to be able to educate my mom. When my sister was having her shower, I said, Mom, one of the things that hurt me, you didn't even ask how I was feeling on that day. I know it
Wow.
was about my sister, but you didn't ask how I was feeling. And she was open. She said, Brandy, I don't know. we don't know what to do. We don't know what to say. And so I had to be that educator in the family and tell her, this is what would be appropriate to say. This is what we would be appropriate to do. And so now I take that with my friends and I say, if you don't want to go to that baby shower, don't go.
Yeah.
Send your gift and go do something for you. Get your nails done, get a manicure, get a massage, anything that can ease your mind. And it's not that we aren't happy for our friends. It's not that we're angry, but we may be. Those are natural feelings to have. But in order for me to be a good friend to you, I need to take care of myself. And I in that 40 late 30ish, I had to forgive myself and say, hey, I know they may be upset, but you have to do what you have to do to make sure that you are okay. And I think if we give ourselves permission
Yes.
to be flawed and to take care of ourselves and to be selfish sometimes, I think each person can grow from those experiences.
Yeah, I think we've got to do a better job of, one, understanding where we are and being okay with where we are, because sometimes it's really hard to get out of that space, right? Sometimes it's just really difficult to get out of that space. And for me, it was giving myself permission, like you said, not to feel bad that I can't show up for someone else when I was having trouble showing up for myself, right?
Right.
Or the other thing that I had to tell friends, which was the opposite, is that I am seriously happy for you, so don't restrict me from celebrating you because of my own journey, right? Like that was another part of my journey where it was like, well, let's not maybe talk to Simone about this. And I was like, no, allow me the opportunity to decide to choose, because I want to be able to say if I can or cannot, but do not deny me that opportunity to be present, right? And very similar story, my sister is having children and I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, like, how is this my journey? And I think that also having to lead more honest conversations. And I think people also have to stop assuming, stop putting your own narrative on others, projecting your own thoughts on others, when the reality is that you don't know, right? You don't know. You don't have all the answers. And I think people do that a lot, especially with women. I remember my ex not having to answer nearly as many questions. And I remember telling him, tell me when you go to work, how many people ask you, are you a dad? Or are you thinking about having kids? Like, just tell me, does that happen to you? Because it happens to me almost every hour on the hour.
The onus is always on the woman. The woman to have the baby. Why aren't you having the baby? I had a friend even, her father said, if you didn't work so much, you guys would have another baby.
And how painful is that, right?
Well, yeah, how silly is that? And it will come from the people that are closest to you because they feel the most comfortable in sharing those feelings. So that's another hard journey to process too, to create those boundaries amongst the people that are having those conversations with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to kind of continue to go on this self-care journey and burnout, then talk to me a little bit about now you're mentally fatigued, right? You're tired, like, because now you're having to battle something that you were not prepared to battle, and you're having conversations you're not equipped to have. And so walk me through kind of like, where did resilience come in for you?
So I ended up going to therapy by myself and as a couple. One, I needed to figure out what those triggers were for me as Brandy, just being not attached to my husband, in order to correct them within me. And then we can come back together and correct those triggers that are with each other. So I did that.
You mean a doctor went to a doctor to get help?
I did.
That's such a novel idea. I can't believe
another
that.
Clinician, yes.
I love it.
And I was not afraid to go. One of the things that I encourage people to use is their employee assistance program, that EAP. where they give you some employers will give you 4, 5 services for mental health needs, and it's free. Especially some employers will include that in your hiring package, and so I use them anytime I go to a new facility. I'm like, let me see that EAP program, let me see what I have, so that I can get the help that I need when I need it.
Why do
When
you
it's
think that
me.
healthcare providers sometimes deny themselves help?
Because we are the ones who are supposed to take care of everybody else, whether it's our patients, whether it's our family and friends. We are expected to take care of everyone else. And a lot of times, healthcare providers ourselves, we are that type A personality. We need to control everything. We need to make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dots. Need to make sure the lights are turned on. We need to make sure the patients are in the door. If I'm not here, how is everything going to run? But I cannot keep my facility going if I'm not keeping myself going.
Right.
And so I think it's hard for us to sit back, relax, and allow someone else to, I say, drive the train. But if I'm not good to myself, I'm not going to be good to my patients. If I'm not good to my patients, they're not going to come back in the door. They're not going to refer their family members and friends. So it has to start with me.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I remember, so in my journey, I'm dealing with endometriosis, stage 4, never even heard of it, didn't even know there was stages. I'm like, wait, there's levels to this, and not the levels that I want. Like, I don't want to be on level 4. Like, I'm like, how is this even happening, right?
Right.
And I'm popping Vicodin every hour on the hour because that is the level of pain I am having, so I can continue to work on my patients.
Right.
And girl, in the midst of this happening, I remember a patient asking me, you seem like you're going through a lot. Girl, my daddy was in the hospital dying, and I'm still popping Vicodin, and I'm trying to be of service. And now in hindsight, I look back and I say, how in the world and why was that expected? And that's why I said,
because you wouldn't tell yourself now, your 40-year-old self would not tell yourself then to do that.
Baby, 40-year-old self be like, not today. What I'm not going to do is none of that.
Get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it.
I'm absolutely not going to do that. Why? Because I also deserve to be, preserved and protected. And what it did was it made me burn out. Because my body was physically like overworking, right? We don't think about that from a mental perspective too, but like, I don't know about you, but I experience fatigue when my brain is going a mile a minute. Physically going through that? Crazy.
Yes, my husband will tell me, he'll say, Brandy, you need to stop your mind. Because I'll tell him, I keep thinking about things. There's something else I need to write on this list. He'll say, Brandy, you need to chill, rest your mind, close your eyes, sit back. Because he will recognize the physical manifestation of me not being able to turn my mind off or not being able to relax. We went to this new age kind of floating spa the other day.
Do tell.
And okay, well, he enjoyed himself. Me, I'm there thinking about this what that submarine was like. It's dark in here.
Not the sun.
I can't get up.
Not Ocean's Gate.
Yes, I took him from let's relax to I'm in the ocean. I wonder what was in that ocean. Like not being able to shut my mind off. And he fell asleep. And I'm in there like, I wonder what they got on the menu at the next place. So
like not relaxed at all. Like not in the moment
even
at all.
No. So that's a part of burnout too, not being able to shut your mind off. Physical manifestations, increased tension in your shoulders, in your arms, not being able to rest yourself, not being able to fall asleep, being sleep deprived. Those are other physical manifestations of burnout. Then you have emotional manifestations, being short with your patients, being detached from your patients, being paranoid in your job. Those are other manifestations that can happen with burnout. And they do not teach clinicians how to recognize those signs and symptoms when we are in school. It's go to your clinicals, go to your internship, be a good student,
Yes.
make sure you study, pass your boards. But what about the self-care that goes into that? Because I have students now who are about to take their boards in 2 weeks. They have uh anxiety attacks just thinking about the exam. And I have to not only teach them how to prepare for the exam, but how do I teach this student who has laid everything on the line, but how do I teach her how to be comfortable and know that she has it even before she's walking in the door? How do I do those psychosocial things that they don't teach you in a book?
Yeah, and I
So,
wonder how do you because I don't even remember. I don't know about you, and I don't even remember people. I don't even remember people having panic attacks, but I know that they were happening. I remember not even knowing what anxiety was, girl, until probably the fifth year into my office. And what would happen is this feeling had been happening, like just didn't know what it was, right? I'd be like, I just need to walk real quick because my brain is working and my heart is going fast, and I'm just going to walk outside real quick because I was having straight up panic attacks. How do you help someone get through them? Because my technique may not be what someone else's technique, so I am curious.
And that's true. So everyone is different. For me, I'll go and sit in my car. I'll let our old school R&B play. That helps me to kind of get my mind rewired to think about something else. I teach my students to think about 5 different things. Give me something that you can see. Give me something that you can hear right now. Give me something that you can smell. Give me something that you can taste. One, it helps them to ground themselves and to get their mind off of what is making them anxious. And I also do teach, I want you to be prepared. I want you to study. I want you to know your stuff. One, that decreases your anxiety when you step in the room. That helps you to know, I already know Miss Brandy has told me this. She's taught me this. I know where to look it up on my PowerPoint, but also recognize when you may need to break from me. I tell my students, if you are having a bad day, if you're feeling disconnected, let me know, because then, I can, pause this. I can reschedule your test. I can make the situation better if you only let me know. So I think being open and honest with my students and patients about any kind of feelings that they're having creates that dialogue, and it allows them to feel vulnerable and feel comfortable with them sharing with you.
Yeah, I love that you're creating that safe space for your students. I love that you are understanding and being caring of that, because I know for sure that that was not the narrative that we were talking. Like, girl, that was not. You better. And I mean, and so I still struggle sometimes because with some of that, I'm like, once I figured out what was happening in my own, I was like, oh, okay, well, now that I know what it is, my brain is like, well, then there's systems that you can fix to not feel that way anymore. And for me, anxiety really was coming from being overloaded with way too much information, right? Like, I mean, it was literally like 5 people. I would tell my team, you may have only interrupted me today 7 times. There is 7 other people here. So there is 49 interruptions that are happening, and we're not even talking about patients yet. And
There's a cell phone. Yeah.
Right. And then I have the audacity to have my own thoughts that's in my own brain. So how am I going to breathe? And what I had to start doing is I put up boundaries to say, like, no, like, there is going to be times I can check in with everybody. And so this is some advice that I can give for professionals. Like, when you are especially having to see patients and your team is coming with questions after on questions on questions, one thing you could think about doing is that setting up times where you will answer all the questions as a whole, right? So I have a sheet outside my office where you can write down your name, the problem that you're experiencing, and if it is urgent or not. The urgent ones I will talk to you about at the very beginning of my day after morning huddle, right before I go to lunch, right after I come to lunch, and before I go home. But all these other interruptions, because I am not a smartphone. I can't process data like that, right?
Yeah, and even though you are the owner, you are expected to, but that's your boundary. You have to put up that.
Yes.
I had to put boundaries with my patients. Like I would have them, okay, you can call me between 7:30 and 3:30. Other than that, this is Brandy time. This is Brandy's family time, because otherwise you are working 24/7. Even though they think, I'm just texting because I need to reschedule, I have to contact somebody for you to reschedule.
Right.
I have to get your progress note done because you're not going to be here on this day.
How did your
So
patients feel about that, creating those boundaries? What were the pros and the cons, or the backlash, or the wins that you received from that?
the wins for me was just I knew that between 7:30 and 3:30, this I'm just working. After that, I'm going home and I'm putting the phone down. I didn't receive too much backlash from it, but I think patients are more perceptive and or receptive, I'm sorry, and they make sure that when I'm with her, I'm going to try to get everything that I need to say to her in at that time, beforehand. And I also teach my patients, write down your question. If you have a question, if you think of something, keep the notepad next to you, write that question down so you won't forget when you come to see me. Or if you have a question for your physician, allow me to see if I can kind of work through that question with you before you go to them too. So creating those boundaries, not only for yourself, but your patients as well.
Yeah, because we've got to give ourselves permission as self-care providers not to feel guilty about putting boundaries up. We got to give ourselves permission not to feel guilty about saying no. For me, it was
Absolutely.
like, hey, I can probably now. I've been practicing 15 years now. Like, I get the opportunity to say, yeah, I'm only do 2 days a week. Not because I could not work 6 days a week. Sure, I could. I'm still working when I'm not working, right? Like, this is still,
Right.
you're still working right now. We are doing something. So sometimes I think patients and even our team
Sure.
don't realize, like, hey, like, there's a lot of things that are going on beyond the scenes that you may not see. And I don't have to continue to ask you permission for me
For
to
me to
just,
step away.
yes, yes. And that's hard. I see a lot of my colleagues and friends struggle with that. And I want to encourage, and I love what you're doing. I mean, I love it because I'm like, you're starting to change the narrative that doctors are people too. That is just our title. It's just a profession. Just like the garbage man that's working is a garbage man. That is just his job. That is not
Right.
necessarily, he doesn't want to take the garbage of everybody else
Home. Yes. I don't
home.
have to take that home with me. And I can
Yes.
set up boundaries to create a space where this is just work and then this is home.
Yeah.
Because if I'm taking those problems from the clinic or from my patient home, then how am I supposed to decompress? How am I supposed to reset when my next patient comes in and it's their first time seeing me? They don't want to see me anxious and on edge because I'm still thinking about my other patient from 2 days ago. They want to see me refresh and focus on them. And I can't do that if I don't set up a safe space where I can kind of just be myself.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And you've also stayed pretty active. If you can't tell, she has the Angela Bassett arms. I mean, look at them. It's just gorgeous. So, talk to me about physical health and physical, because you're in physical therapy. Talk to me about doctors and pertaining to their health, some of the things that you're seeing from your students or even people in general. And what are some suggestions you have to help combat the burnout or the self-care?
I think that, especially clinicians, we are sometimes the ones that are teaching and not necessarily
Doing?
doing, yes, are not
Right.
necessarily doing. So I try to incorporate that not only into my classroom but into myself. I used to be, I haven't taught my, I have still have the certification, but I used to teach Pilates, and that
Ooh,
was one of,
child. That's,
yes.
oof, goodness. I'm like, I'm imagining, like, girl, I did that class twice and I was like,
I
okay,
love
so.
so I loved teaching. I hated taking it for myself, but I love teaching Pilates. I loved it. But I do take it in with my students. I do teach them, okay, let's think of ways to meditate, because you may see a patient who's anxious about you performing range of motion. How are we going to take in meditation, or how are we going to take in relaxation in order to get the patient to respond to you? So I do teach that. Personally, I like to row. We have a road class here up in North Kansas City, and it's 30 minutes, but they'll crank on music, they'll make it a hip hop thing, and we are rowing. And it's quick, something easy for me because I'm on the go. So I can't have a class where I have to warm up for 10 minutes and then 20 minutes doing this. So I need something that's high impact, that is short and concise. And so that's me. So you have to find something that fits your need.
Yeah.
Everyone isn't tailored to be a marathon runner, but those are some people who are out there who love to do it. I tried it. I did 2 of them, and I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. This isn't my calling. But there are other people who love yoga. So you have to find something that speaks to you, that is tailored for you, something that you will respond to and you can be productive at and be successful. So one, that's a self-reflection thing that a lot of us don't have, but you have to self-reflect and, think about what you will be successful at.
Yeah, and I think also too trying out different things,
Yes.
right? So for me, I am today years old when I realized that I love tennis, and I be thinking I'm trolling Serena on the court, and girl didn't even know. She never played sports, never ever played sports. So even the idea of the tennis ball coming back to me, I was like, what do I do now? Like, do I have to hit it back? I mean, crazy, but I have now found like that to be cathartic, and I love the idea of exploring what types of ways to healthy find that balance, right? And have fun with it, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking,
I'm not a tennis person, but I like a pickleball.
See?
I do. I love it. It's like something about that short court, and it's like back and forth. It's like, oh, see, that's my time. I'm like, I need something small, something. There it is.
She said, I don't got time for a full tennis game. I need that time to be shorter.
Yes.
Yeah, but just the act of acting, the act of being active. I think that you're completely right. Doctors, we are, I'll never forget one of my dad's cardiologists before he passed I swear, I was like, now how many cheeseburgers have you had, sir? In my mind, not because he was it wasn't like, I get it, like, you don't have to be a picture.
You preach to the choir, yes.
But you were like, you, and I'm like, you gotta now you telling these people to stop eating this, and I know we about to go out here and I'm gonna see you at Chick-fil-A. Like, what I mean by that, guys, is that we've got to hold ourselves accountable, like we're holding these patients accountable, right? Like, it ain't nobody's gonna come to me if my teeth look crazy, like they just not. Like, so we've got to put. I mean, if I was over here missing a side tooth, y'all might be like, yeah, nah, that's not going to be the person I want to see. My point is that we really do have to start, and I push this so often, giving yourself permission to put yourself first. There is nothing wrong with that. That is not selfish. That is being of self. That is self-love. The second thing is holding yourself to the standard of be who you preach to be. Like, be who you preach to be. So if we are going to be of service and be of health, we've got to walk a tighter line on what that looks like, because we are supposed to encourage, we're supposed to empower, and we're supposed to inspire our patients to a better form of life.
You don't know who's looking to you for inspiration.
Yes.
And so you have to uphold that standard that you are portraying and sharing with the rest of the world, because you don't know who you're going to inspire. You don't know what kid is going to see you and want you to be their mentor. And again, if you are not holding the standard, why would they even come to you?
Yeah, I completely agree. So what are now some of the new things that as you've learned all these life lessons at the beautiful age of, 42, what are some of the things now that you know that set people up for success pertaining to self-care and not getting to burnout? Because sometimes when you get already, or when you have already gotten to burnout, it's really hard to get you back up.
Yeah. So one is I would say educating so that you can know what those signs and symptoms look like, and then preparing yourself for that. So if you know better, you do better. So if I know that if I'm working 8 hours a day, that I'm going to be stressed the next day, then let's scale back on that time. If I know I can only see 6 patients because I know my paperwork is going to pile up, then only see those 6 patients or 4 patients. So preparing yourself, giving yourself time to recuperate, giving yourself an off day or a mental health day in between the weeks so that you can recoup and be the best self that you can be.
What happens if you work for someone else, right? And they're putting the expectations on you that, I mean, we know this, like corporations they want numbers. They are not necessarily talking about the people that are working there. They look at the bottom line. So what do you give to them? What do you say for that advice?
You have to be an advocate for yourself. If you are not going to be an advocate for you, no one else is going to advocate for you. If something would have happened to you or does happen to you, that job posting will be up on Indeed the next day.
The next
day. So you have to always advocate for yourself. You can use FMLA. If it's there, you can go to your EAP resource person or HR in order to make sure that you are being taken care of. So I always have people or want to educate people to seek out those resources because a lot of times they are free resources as well. And always just be an advocate for yourself because your desk will be cleared out and gone. So you always have to stick up for yourself.
Yeah. I can't agree more with that. I especially think that like now in hindsight, the journeys that I've learned is that like I give that example again. Like I remember my father being very specific about when we could take vacations, and he said you take vacations when you retire, right? So as a kid, you can imagine I ain't take that many vacations because he wouldn't retire yet. So when he got to retirement age. He died a year later, right? And I think about all the time that he really needed off because he wasn't taking care of himself, right? And I think about all the resources that he had to his disposal. He had the time. You know, he would brag about how many days that he had not used by taking off. And then I think to myself, like, wow, like you didn't use the resources to really prolong life. Your life can't just be about going to work and coming home. And I think that that's where I also see a lot of healthcare providers. We get in this cycle of you wake up, you go to work, you go home. You wake up, you go to work, you go home. And you just keep doing that as opposed to starting to say, well, wait a minute, there's a lot more to this life than just getting up, going to work and going home and putting it on repeat, right?
Right.
Some of the things that I think that are important for people to really consider for self-care, especially not getting to burnout, because I was there, is this one, like you said, analyzing and analyzing yourself, getting serious with yourself, paying attention to the signs that your body is already telling you, because your body literally tells you. Yes. Yeah. Like it tells you, it's like, hey girl, so like you're tired, you're making bad choices, your family
physically before you mentally get it too.
Right. And I love your husband for being able to see you, like literally see you, not necessarily see you physically, but like see you and say, babe, I need you to stop. And we have these people around us, whether it's you're married and you have a husband or a wife, you got your friends, your family. My family was seeing me, but I wasn't seeing me. And you got to be able, guys, to listen to those keys, those red flags that we love to talk about, because your body's saying it, you know, or your friends are telling you it, right?
Or they're telling you, like you said, is something wrong? Are you distracted?
Yes.
Is everything okay? Because you may be going through the motion, but those people who see you every day are going to be able to tell that, you know, something's not quite there. Something's going to be off. Your body will tell you. It will physically tense up when you get into the room or approach the office.
Yeah.
You know, how many times are we driving and we get to work and we're in that parking lot like, I just want to be home.
Right.
That's actually a sign of burnout. So you have to recognize those small things before they add up to those larger ones.
Absolutely. And I think other things that we don't think about is, and you said it pertaining to your students regarding anxiety, is I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people, I always say this, we running into our days, y'all. We running into, you're waking up and you're just like, you're not prepared or you're not anticipating your day. And my team always knows, I come in, I'm not joking, Brandy, like this amount of energy that you see, y'all, I prepare for this. Like I am literally in the gym. I get up at 4:30. Ask my husband, he hates it. I get up at 4:30, right? I am at the gym at 5:15. Why? Why would I get up that early? Because no one's on the road. Nothing is happening.
Mm-hmm.
No one has blown on my phone telling me what problem and fire I got to hit. Like, I'm not there yet. So I get me. I get to hear
Oh
me
yeah.
and my thoughts. I get to spend time with my creator. I get to have my moments. So, but what do I do to get up that early is I go to bed at night. I have my gym clothes out. I am prepared. I'm not running around the house at
Right.
4:31 because that's disrespectful. I ain't that type of woman. So I don't want to go into my day and rush. I want to have intention in what I'm supposed to do because I'm expected to do great things in this world and I have to be intentional about that. So I do
I
think,
love that intention,
yeah.
being purposeful about what you're going to do, being purposeful about going to work or going home or working out, being purposeful in your action. Because when we start to rush, that's when we get into accidents.
Mm,
That's when we forget things. That's when we lock our keys in the car. It can be something simple as that, or leave our computer at home.
yeah.
So being prepared and being purposeful and intentional with your actions, that is a good way to not prevent or to prevent burnout as well.
So you've come out of pain, you come out of stress, you've come out of being first in certain areas, you've come out and shined and been bright. And now I want to know, who is Dr. Brandy now? Like who is she? Who is this woman evolved to now? What would this woman say to younger Dr. Brandy pertaining to self-care and burnout? And what is next for you?
I don't know what's next. I just created I turn 42 tomorrow. So
Oh, happy
yes.
birthday! Well, I mean, I'm so excited. I would have brought
Yeah.
alcohol to the party, but I mean, you didn't tell me that it was your birthday. Happy birthday, girl.
Thank you. So I created my uh vision board for this next year, and it had travel on there. It
Where
had
we going?
leisure.
Where we going? I want to know.
Well, tomorrow I'm going to visit my best friend. She stays in Miami, and she's going to take me paddle boarding. So I like to do new adventures.
Nice.
So that's what this journey is. Any kind of new adventures that are out there, I'm willing to take. So that is going to be kind of my next step. Just trying something different, trying something new, evolving who I have evolved into. I
Mm.
would tell my younger self, know your worth. Know your
Mm.
worth. Know your
And
worth. Know who
add
you can be.
tax.
And
And
add tax.
add tax. Okay.
Yes. Today's price isn't
It
yesterday's
ain't,
price.
honeys. Honey, up your
Yes.
price.
Yes. So that is what I would tell. And anyone who is where we were, you can make it out on the other side. I'm sure Simone and myself, we are resources for you. I
Mm.
love to have mentees. I love to have new students who just want to come shadow and hang out and not even talk about therapy or being a clinician, but okay, how do I get through school? I've had
Mm.
people who are like, can you just help me with my anatomy class? Of course, yes. I struggled in that as well, and that's what I'm here for. So I would take those resources that you have and just build upon them and share them, and just know that you are worth it and you can do it and you come out on the other side.
I love that. One, for your future, I hope that you continue, one, to have conversations. I mean, I want to hear, I want to see the impact that you can have because your story is so unique. It's so amazing. And you've been able to see what life is like outside of that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that your impact is much bigger than you even know. So I want you to continue to do that. We need the YouTube channel.
Thank you.
I need the class. I need to make sure that you are touching the lives that God has put you here to touch because you've encouraged me, even in these moments. Sometimes we need to be around people that have like stories, similar
Yes,
stories,
absolutely.
but you see them winning and you see them shining. You're like, yeah, she deserves that because she worked hard for it. And you didn't let life you, because we know that life will life you for sure,
Yes.
right?
So I encourage people just to be open too, because I didn't know about certain aspects of burnout and self-care until I started talking, with my other sorority sisters, and like, oh, you got that going on too. You got that going on too. Well, we're six girls who are just hanging out with each other, and none of us know that we have this connection with each
Ain't
other.
that crazy?
So just make sure that you are open and willing to be vulnerable with someone, to share your story and allow someone to share theirs, because you don't know, their story can be a blessing to you too as well.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated ladies. I didn't even know that was my soror, so I'm so excited. The pink looks
Yes.
beautiful on you, darling. It really
I
does.
mean, pink looks good on everybody.
I love it. I love it. Doc, where can they find you? What platforms can they reach out to you, since she loves mentees and she is open to conversation? Where can we find you?
On Facebook at Brandy Palacios, on Instagram at DPT Doc on Instagram, and just, hey, shoot me a message and we'll get together.
Guys, thank you so much. Doc, first of all, happy birthday again. I'm so happy for you on this 42nd year of life. Continue to love, continue to live, continue to be a light like you are. For everyone else that is tuned into this podcast, please make sure you subscribe, like, and make sure you leave comments below. We read them. We want to hear from you. We want to continue to give you feedback, especially healthcare professionals, and things that you need to make your life easier and better. Remember, this is beyond the chair. This is what you do beyond that actual chair. There's so much more to life than actually being in the chair. We want to look beyond it. Guys, I'm Dr. Simone Ellis. Doc, Brandy, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your time,
Thank
energy,
you.
and effort. I love it. That's my Sumner Academy sis. That's my soror sis. That's my first one of a kind, amazing Doc. I appreciate you for your time, energy, and effort for sure.
Thank you.
All right, guys, take care.